Automatic transaxles are becoming more widely used in this rapidly developing society. And the auto transaxles are continuously improving too. In this video, we would like to give you a detailed explanation on the hydraulic control system and in-depth explanation to diagnosis of breakdown. In this video consists of introduction, valve body, and hydraulic pressure control. Let's begin with the introduction. In this chapter, we learn about the oil pressure control system components of Hivec automatic transaxle, in addition to oil pressure control and hydraulic circuit at each shift. First one is an explanation on system components. In 4-speed automatic transaxle, the number of solenoid valves used for the oil pressure control of Hivec automatic transaxle are 5 and 6 for 5-speed. These valves are overdrive solenoid valve, underdrive solenoid valve, low and reverse brake solenoid valve, second brake solenoid valve, and damper clutch control solenoid valve. And the reduction brake is applied only for 5-speed. No solenoid valve is needed for the reverse clutch, which is the operating element for reverse driving. Oil pressure is supplied to the reverse clutch from the manual valve, not passing any additional pressure regulator valve. There are 2 operational elements in sub-transaxle of 5-speed automatic transaxle, and these are direct clutch and reduction brake. Since direct clutch uses the same solenoid valve with low and reverse brake, additional solenoid valve for direct clutch is not required, and only solenoid valve for reduction brake is added. Frequency of solenoid valve is approximately 62 Hz and is controlled by TCM. However, the frequency of the damper clutch control solenoid valve is adjusted to be 35 Hz. The line pressure of Hivec automatic transaxle is applied only 30% of first speed and second speed oil pressure in park and neutral range. And in high speed range of third or fourth speed, only 60% of first and second speed oil pressure is applied. Especially when line pressure decreases in third and fourth speed, oil passage changes by the switch valve. Then, oil pressure decreases due to the regulator valve operation. In 5-speed automatic transaxle, line pressure is lower than low-speed gear, even in the 5th speed. Line pressure is adjustable both for 4 and 5 speeds, using the adjustment nut at the end of the regulator valve. Approximately, pressure of 0.4 kilogram force per centimeter squared changes per rotation of adjustment nut. Ports for second brake, underdrive clutch, and low and reverse brake are installed at the transaxle case of 4-speed and 5-speed Hivec automatic transaxle. Ports are also applied at the torque converter housing in order to measure the oil pressure of damper clutch apply and damper clutch release respectively. Ports are applied at the rear cover in order to measure the oil pressure of the overdrive clutch and reverse clutch, respectively. In 5-speed automatic transaxle, additional port is applied at the transaxle case to measure the oil pressure of reduction brake and direct clutch of sub-transaxle. Since the pitch and diameter of this port is bigger than that of others, note that extra gauge adapter is needed. Now let us explain about the hydraulic circuit. With the use of hydraulic circuit, the power flow to the operating element of each gear can be easily understood. Basically, hydraulic circuit of Hivec automatic transaxle is controlled independently by clutches. Low and reverse brake operates in park and neutral. Oil pressure generated from the oil pump, which is adjusted in regulator valve, is supplied to low and reverse brake via the low and reverse pressure control valve, switch valve, and fail-safe valve A. Oil pressure is supplied through low and reverse accumulator. Oil pressure is approximately 3.5 kilograms force centimeters until vehicle speed of 5 kilometers per hour by the regulator valve operation. In first gear, with a speed of 5 kilometers per hour or less, underdrive clutch and low and reverse brake operates. However, for the smooth control of N to D shock, low and reverse brake has already been operated in neutral. Therefore, underdrive clutch mainly influences on the oil pressure flow. In the Hivec automatic transaxle, in which sports mode is not adopted, there are another 3 driving ranges, except D range, regardless of 4-speed or 5-speed. Since the position of manual valve remains the same position in all forward driving ranges, the oil pressure flow from manual valve to underdrive clutch remains constant regardless of speed. Oil pressure is supplied to underdrive pressure control valve from manual valve. Then it passes through the underdrive accumulator without passing fail-safe valve and goes to underdrive clutch directly. Since variable line pressure is applied according to the gear position, oil pressure to the underdrive clutch is always adjusted by regulator valve operation. The oil pressure of low and reverse brake increases to 10.5 kilogram force per centimeter squared from 3.5 kilogram force per centimeter squared when D range is selected from N range. On the other hand, oil pressure of underdrive clutch increases from 0 to 10.5 kilogram force per centimeter squared. Therefore, check the related flow path and parts of underdrive clutch of oil pressure equipment first. If shifting shock or time lag is occurred when shifting from N to D. In second speed gear, underdrive clutch and second brake are operating elements. Underdrive clutch operation is maintained until it reaches third speed during forward driving. This is how the second brake works. Oil pressure generated from the oil pump is adjusted by the regulator valve. Then it passes second brake pressure control valve and fail-safe valve B. supplied to the second brake through the second brake accumulator. In third speed gear, underdrive clutch and overdrive clutch are operating elements. Underdrive clutch operation is maintained until third speed during forward driving. This is how the overdrive clutch works. Oil pressure generated from the oil pump is adjusted by regulator valve. Then it is supplied to operating element overdrive clutch through the overdrive clutch pressure control valve and overdrive clutch accumulator. As shown in the figure, flow path of overdrive clutch is connected with the left oil pressure chamber of switch valve. As the switch valve moves, the flow path of regulator valve changes too, allowing the variable line pressure. So, the line pressure of third speed gear decreases relatively. This is why there is only one spring in overdrive clutch accumulator. Second brake and overdrive clutch are operating elements in fourth speed gear. Oil pressure flow of overdrive clutch is continuously maintained at third speed gear. And oil pressure flow of second brake is the same with that of second speed gear in fourth gear. Oil pressure generated from the oil pump is adjusted by the regulator valve. Then it is supplied to clutch and brake through the overdrive clutch pressure control valve and second brake pressure control valve, respectively. Reverse clutch and low and reverse brake are operating elements for moving backwards. Oil pressure flow to the reverse clutch is mechanically set with a position of manual valve R range. There is no extra pressure control valve nor solenoid valve for reverse clutch. Into R, shock oil pressure control, together with into D, shock control, is very important too for the smooth shifting. When the rear gear is selected in neutral range, oil pressure of low and reverse brake moves out of the brake rapidly, which has been supplied in neutral range. Almost at the same time, oil pressure of low and reverse is supplied to low and reverse brake rapidly, which has been supplied with the switch valve. Oil is released first and gathered again so that decreasing the shock in into R or P to R shift enhances the smooth shifting. When the oil pressure is supplied again to low and reverse brake, oil pressure is supplied through the damping valve inside valve body to reduce the slight shock one more time. If driving is normal in first speed, but troublesome in second speed, second brake is doubtful first of all. If the trouble proves to be not electrical, but mechanical or hydraulic problem, oil pressure measurement of second brake is essential. Auto tester is used to maintain the second speed continuously during the test. Connect the auto tester power to the battery and disconnect the solenoid valve connector. And connect both harnesses together. Then installation is completed. Select the vehicle model and 4 automatic transaxle or 5 automatic transaxle and select the appropriate gear ratio. Then any speed is feasible ranging from 1st to 4th or 5th speed. Corresponding lamp turned on by the solenoid valve operation with the gear selected. This signal does not mean that clutch or brake is in operation, but solenoid valve is on. So, the operating elements are interpreted reverse. While the auto tester is operating, shifting shock happens whenever the gear is shifted because it is not controlled electronically by the TCM. Since the solenoid valve connector is open, the fail code is memorized. Therefore, fault code should be detected by using the diagnosis equipment. Secondly, let us explain about the valve body. In this chapter, let us deal with the characteristics and internal structure of valve body, which is core part of hydraulic control. Outside valve body has 4 pressure control valves and 1 switch valve. In case of 5-speed automatic transaxle, pressure control valve is additionally installed for the fail-safe valve C and reduction brake of sub-transaxle. Inside valve has manual valve, which sets oil path by the shift lever position. And it also has the damper clutch control valve, which operates pressure in damper clutch operation. It also has the regulator valve to control overall line pressure of automatic transaxle and torque converter valve to control the pressure inside the torque converter. And finally, fail-safe valve A and fail-safe valve B to prevent the interlock among operating elements. Manual valve of Hivec automatic transaxle changes position by the shift lever position. Unlike other models, manual valve positions are simplified to 4 instead of 7, even though it has the 7 shift positions, namely P, R, N, D, 3, 2, L. Be careful about the steel ball and damping valve positions in valve body disassembly. Refer to workshop manual for assembly position. Let us briefly explain fail-safe valve. Fail-safe valve A is safety equipment to prevent simultaneous operation of 2 brakes and 1 clutch, namely low and reverse brake, second brake, and overdrive clutch. Fail-safe valve A prevents it not electronically, but mechanically and hydraulically. Since those two above-mentioned brakes share the reaction plate, they cannot operate simultaneously in any case. If they operate simultaneously, it may cause automatic transaxle interlock and serious damage to the mechanical system, including the inside bearing of automatic transaxle. If the oil pressure is supplied simultaneously to second brake and low and reverse brake due to the internal damage or breakdown of oil pressure circuit, oil pressure of low and reverse brake is automatically released by the hydraulic circuit of fail-safe valve A connected to each chamber. Fail-safe valve B prevents simultaneous operation of two clutches and one brake, namely underdrive clutch, overdrive clutch, and second brake. If the oil pressure is supplied simultaneously to second brake, underdrive clutch, and overdrive clutch due to the internal damage or breakdown of oil pressure circuit, oil pressure of second brake is automatically released by the hydraulic circuit of fail-safe valve B, connected to each chamber. Fail-safe valve C is applied only to the 5-speed automatic transaxle, which functions to supply the oil pressure to direct clutch from switch valve in usual cases. If direct clutch and reduction brake operate simultaneously, interlock happens, which should be prevented. Direct clutch functions to connect output of main transaxle to the sub-transaxle by 1-to-1 ratio. On the other hand, reduction brake functions to reduce the speed once again in sub-transaxle. If the oil pressure is supplied simultaneously to reduction brake and direct clutch due to the internal damage or breakdown of oil pressure circuit, the hydraulic circuit of fail-safe valve C connected to each chamber automatically releases oil pressure of direct clutch. Let's look at the oil pressure flow in fail-safe condition. If fail-safe condition is met, power supply to all solenoid valves is disconnected because of auto control relay turnoff. Since all solenoid valves turn off, if the driver selects driving forward range, oil pressure is supplied to all clutches and brakes, except reverse clutch, where oil pressure is mechanically supplied. Though interlock may happen, oil pressure of low and reverse brake is released by the fail-safe valve A, and oil pressure of second brake is released by the fail-safe valve B. As a result, oil pressure is supplied only to underdrive clutch, and overdrive clutch. Since it becomes operating element of third speed driving is enabled mechanically. Diamond SP3 automatic transaxle fluid is applied to the Hivec automatic transaxle. Now let us explain the hydraulic pressure control. In this chapter, various control logics for the oil pressure control of Hivec automatic transaxle will be explained. Clutch-to-clutch shift control method of Hivec automatic transaxle is as follows. TCM calculates the appropriate oil pressure, receiving speed signals of input and output shaft. Output signals are transmitted to 4 or 5 solenoid valves, depending on the 4-speed or 5-speed automatic transaxles respectively. Then, shift is performed by controlling clutch or brake of release and connection simultaneously. So the exact torque capacity of both clutches is calculated for the precise control in release and combination clutches. Response becomes smooth and quick by preventing run-up and brake interlock during gear shift. Solenoid valve is applied to each clutch so that the skip shift is allowed. Its merit is reduced time of overall shift completion. Feedback shift control feedbacks solenoid valve duty ratio so that the speed change of input shaft approaches to predetermined target change ratio in shift to each gear. So, it is possible to control ideally the sudden fluctuation of torques in transfer. Of course, the shifting feel is fairly improved. Even when the output performance is changed due to the old engine or automatic transaxle, stable shift is enhanced by the automatic duty ratio compensation of solenoid valve. Feedback control is applied not only in driving condition, but also for the start from the stopped condition. Namely, feedback shift control is adapted in to R or in to D. Since the mutual control is applied, the most desirable injection timing is requested based on the various information like current speed, gear shift, and engine torques, and so on. ECM adjusts the engine torques for smooth shift and increase in shift feeling. Finally, let us explain about the damper clutch control. It is composed of minor slip range control and full lockup control. Minor slip range control means the slight slip in low RPM range, and full lockup means full connection in high RPM range. According to the control, fuel economy is improved and driving is quiet. Of course, there are some models that do not have minor slip range control, depending on the torque converter specification of automatic transaxle models. The conditions for the damper clutch operation are as follows. Driving forward range, more than second speed gear, and the automatic transaxle fluid temperature must be higher than 125 degrees centigrade. Not in to D, nor in to R control. Temperature of automatic transaxle fluid, more than 50 degrees centigrade under full lockup. Temperature of automatic transaxle fluid, more than 70 degrees centigrade, under minor slip range. The system is not under fail-safe third gear hold condition. What is the signal of low and reverse solenoid valve under first gear of D-range run for Hivec automatic transaxle, in which one-way clutch is installed? A, off. B, on. C, it changes from off to on. D, it changes from on to off. The answer is C. It remains off until the vehicle reaches speed of 5 kilometers per hour. Then it's turned on. We have explained hydraulic systems of the Hivec automatic transaxle. We hope this video will be of great help for the maintenance of Hivec automatic transaxle.